The diplomatic hall smelled like burnt ozone and something floral I couldn't name. My wrist burned where the translation implant had just been installed, and Ambassador Chen was already walking away from me toward the massive crystalline doors. I'd been hired 3 hours ago. They needed a human cultural liaison for the Vortac delegation, and apparently my anthropology degree and desperation made me qualified. "Don't speak unless spoken to," Chen said without turning around. "Don't make eye contact with the Queen. Don't touch anything." The doors opened silently. The chamber beyond stretched impossibly high, walls made of something that looked like frozen starlight. At the far end, on a throne carved from a single piece of black stone that seemed to absorb light, sat Queen Sharvara of the Vortac Empire. She was 7 feet tall even sitting, her skin a deep violet that shifted to blue at her temples and collarbone. For eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern on her face, all focused on us as we entered. Her crown wasn't metal, it was part of her skull, bone-white horns that curved back and split into delicate branches. She was terrifying. She was beautiful. My mouth went dry. Beside her stood 6 guards in armor that rippled like liquid mercury. One of them, slightly taller than the others, never took her eyes off the Queen. That was Keshare, I'd later learn. The Queen's personal shield. "Ambassador Chen." The Queen's voice resonated in my chest. "You bring new blood to these negotiations." "Your Majesty." Chen bowed low. I copied him, probably too fast. "This is Marcus Webb, our cultural specialist. He will assist in bridging any misunderstandings between our peoples." Misunderstandings. One of her upper eyes focused on me, while the others remained on Chen. "How diplomatic! You mean he will help you lie more convincingly?" Chen's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. "Approach," the Queen said. Chen stepped forward. I followed, counting my heartbeats. When we were 10 feet from the throne, Chen stopped. I nearly bumped into him. "The trade routes," the Queen said. "Your government wants access to the Cortes sector. You offer mineral rights to 3 of your colony worlds in exchange." "Yes, Your Majesty." "The offer is insulting." Her lower left eye rotated to me. "Do you agree, cultural specialist?" My brain stalled. Chen's shoulders tensed in warning. I swallowed. "I'm not qualified to assess trade agreements, Your Majesty." "But you understand insults?" "Yes." "Then you understand your ambassador insults my intelligence. Those colony worlds were already scheduled for independence votes within 5 years. He offers me territories his own government will not control by the time the ink dries on any agreement." Chen's face went pale. I'd read the briefing documents on the flight over. The independence votes were classified information. "Your Majesty," Chen started. "Silence." She didn't raise her voice. The single word carried absolute authority. Chen's mouth clicked shut. "I tire of games. I tire of humans who think themselves clever. Keshare." The tall guard moved instantly, placing herself between us and the Queen. Her hand didn't go to her weapon, but the threat was clear. "Wait," I said. The word came out before I could stop it. Every eye in the room focused on me. Chen made a small choking sound. "Cultural specialist." The Queen's tone could have frozen nitrogen. "You presume to interrupt me?" "No, Your Majesty. I presume to do my job." My voice shook, but I kept going. "Ambassador Chen withheld information from me. I didn't know about the independence votes. If I'd been properly briefed, I would have advised against this approach." "Would you?" "Yes. In human culture, offering something you don't truly possess is one of the deepest insults. It implies the other party is too stupid to discover the deception. Chen didn't insult your intelligence. He obliterated any chance of trust." Chen turned to me, his face purple. "Webb, shut your ambassador chin," the Queen said quietly. "Leave." "Your Majesty, I must protest. Keshere, escort the ambassador to his ship. He has 1 hour to depart our system." 2 guards materialized beside Chen. He shot me a look of pure hatred as they guided him toward the doors. The massive panels closed behind them with a sound like a tomb ceiling. I was alone with the Queen and her remaining guards. "So," the Queen leaned forward slightly, "the desperate anthropologist with 3 hours of employment tells me the truth his superior would hide. Why? Because lying to you seemed like a faster way to die than telling the truth." Silence. Then, one of her lower eyes rotated slightly, the Vortak equivalent of a raised eyebrow. I'd read, "You have courage or stupidity. I have not decided which." She settled back. "But you are correct. Trust is the foundation of any alliance. Your people have none of mine. This negotiation is over. What if we started fresh?" The words tumbled out. "No ambassadors. No official channels. Just 2 people trying to understand each other. You suggest I negotiate with you? A human with no authority? I suggest you talk with someone who won't lie to you. I can't offer you trade routes or colonies. But I can offer honest conversation. Maybe that's worth something." The Queen studied me for a long moment. Finally, she gestured to Keshere. The guard moved to stand beside the throne again. "You interest me, Marcus Webb. We will speak again tomorrow. If you survive the night." "Survive? Your government will not be pleased you cost them this alliance. I wonder what they will do to you." She was right. I was already dead. 3 days later, I was still alive and still talking with Queen Shervara. She'd given me quarters in the diplomatic wing and apparently declared me under her personal protection, which confused everyone, including me. We talked about everything: culture, history, art, the differences between human and Vortak philosophy. She was brilliant and terrifying and had a sense of humor drier than desert sand. On the 4th evening, I made a mistake. We were in one of her private gardens, a space with plants that glowed softly in the twilight. She'd been telling me about Vortak bonding rituals, how they were sacred and permanent. I'd been listening, genuinely fascinated, and made a joke without thinking. "Sounds like marriage," I said, smiling. "Humans have something similar. We make vows, exchange tokens, commit to each other for life. Though we're not always great at the permanent part." "Interesting," she said. "And how do humans choose these bonds?" "Usually we fall in love first, date for a while. Then one person asks the other to marry them. If they both agree, they're married after a ceremony. And if one person simply claims the other, doesn't really work that way for us. Both people have to choose it." She made a sound that might have been amusement. "How very democratic." I laughed. "Yeah, we're big on consent. Though I read once that in some old Earth cultures, marriages were arranged. Parents chose for their children. Some places, a powerful person could just claim someone they wanted. Probably didn't end well most of the time." "Claim them," she repeated softly, and something in her tone made me look up. Her 4 eyes were all focused on me with an intensity that stopped my breath. "Your Majesty, you joke about claiming, about marriage, about choosing a bond." Yes. I was just making conversation." She stood, and the temperature in the garden seemed to drop. Keshere appeared from wherever she'd been waiting, moving to the Queen's side instantly. "In Vortak culture," the Queen said, her voice carrying a formal weight I hadn't heard before, "to discuss bonding rituals with someone is to indicate interest. To speak of claiming in another's presence is to announce intention. You have done both, Marcus Webb." My stomach turned to ice. I didn't know. I wasn't. I was just talking. It was casual conversation. There is no casual conversation about bonding with the Queen of the Vortac Empire. She moved closer, and I fought every instinct telling me to step back. You spoke of claiming. You spoke of marriage. You did so in my presence, in my private garden, during a moment of intimacy. By our oldest laws, you have declared your intention to bond with me. And I, by listening without rejecting your words immediately, have accepted your claim. No. The word barely made it out. That's not what I meant. I made a joke. A stupid, thoughtless joke. The law does not concern itself with intent. Only action. Then I take it back. I apologize. You cannot unbind words already spoken and accepted. She tilted her head slightly, all four eyes studying my face. We are now bound by declaration. The formal ceremony must take place within 7 days, or I will be dishonored before my entire court. My position as queen will be questioned. Challenges will come. This is insane. This is law. Her expression didn't change. You wish to understand Vortac culture, Marcus Webb. Now you will become part of it. As my consort, as my bonded, as my equal before the Empire. Keshare's hand finally went to her weapon. Not threatening me, protecting the queen from any threat, including her own emotions. The guard's face remained perfectly neutral, but I saw the tension in her shoulders. I can't, I said. Your Majesty, I can't. I'm nobody. I'm a failed anthropologist with student debt and no future. You're a queen. This would destroy you politically. Perhaps. She turned away, looking at the glowing plants. Or perhaps it will prove I am strong enough to honor my own laws regardless of circumstance. The court will gather tomorrow. The bonding ceremony will be announced. You have until then to accept your fate or flee like a coward. Choose wisely, Marcus Webb. Your next words will shape both our futures. She walked away, Keshare following silently. I stood alone in the garden as the plant's glow faded to darkness, and understood that I just accidentally proposed to the most powerful being in this sector of space. She'd accepted, and now I had no idea what happened next. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. The quarters they'd given me were nicer than anywhere I'd ever lived. Soft surfaces that adjusted to body temperature, walls that displayed calming patterns, air that smelled like sandalwood and something alien but pleasant. None of it helped. I paced until dawn, then sat staring at my hands until someone knocked. "Enter," I called, my voice rough. Keshare stepped inside. Up close, I could see the scars on her armor where weapons had struck and failed to penetrate. She closed the door and stood at parade rest, hands clasped behind her back. "You should run," she said without preamble. "Excuse me? You are human. Weak. Breakable. The Queen's enemies will use you against her. They will hurt you to hurt her. You will become a liability she cannot afford. You should run while you still can." Is that an official suggestion from the Royal Guard? It is personal advice from someone who has protected the Queen for 12 years. She is the greatest leader our people have had in 5 generations. She is brilliant and compassionate and ruthless when necessary. She does not deserve to be weakened by a human who stumbled into a bonding declaration through ignorance. I should have been angry. Instead, I heard the fear under her words. She wasn't protecting the Queen's position. She was protecting the Queen. You care about her, I said. I would die for her without hesitation. I mean, you care about her. Not just as a queen. As a person. Keshare's jaw tightened. My feelings are irrelevant. My duty is absolute. Does she know? Know what? That you're in love with her. The silence stretched like broken glass. Finally, Keshare's hand moved to her weapon, not drawing it, just touching it, as if confirming it was still there. If you speak those words to anyone else, I will kill you. Her voice was perfectly calm. Slowly, in ways your fragile human body cannot imagine. Do you understand? I understand. I stood, moving carefully. But I'm not going to run. And I'm not going to tell anyone. Because I'm starting to think you and I want the same thing. You want nothing I want. I want her to be safe. I want her to be happy. I want her to have the future she deserves. I took a breath. And I don't want to be the person who destroys her because I made a stupid joke. Keshare stared at me. Then, what will you do? I don't know yet. But I have until the announcement to figure it out. She studied me for another long moment, then turned and left without another word. The door closed with a soft click that sounded like a prison cell locking. I had 8 hours. The palace library was vast and empty. I spent 6 hours reading everything I could find about Vortac bonding law, ritual, and precedent. The translation implant in my wrist burned as it processed archaic terminology and legal concepts that didn't quite translate to any human equivalent. The law was clear. A bonding declaration made in the Queen's presence in a private setting with intimate context was legally binding. The only way to break it was for the Queen herself to reject it publicly, which would humiliate her and invite challenges to her authority, or for the person who made the declaration to be proven unworthy through a formal challenge. I found the loophole in a document dated 300 years ago. When I entered the throne room, the entire court had already gathered. Hundreds of Vortac in formal dress that made their skin shimmer with reflected light. The Queen sat on her throne, wearing armor I hadn't seen before, black and silver, covering her from neck to feet, making her look like a weapon. Keshare stood at her right hand, face expressionless. The Queen's 4 eyes found me immediately. Marcus Webb, you have arrived. We may begin. Your Majesty, I said, my voice carrying in the sudden silence. I request the right of challenge before this bonding is formalized. Murmurs rippled through the court. The Queen leaned forward slightly. You challenge yourself? No, Your Majesty. I challenge the law that binds us. The murmurs became shocked whispers. Someone near the back hissed in anger. Explain, the Queen said. I read the histories. 300 years ago, the bonding laws were written to prevent powerful Vortac from claiming weaker ones against their will. The private declaration law was meant to protect quiet consent, to let people bond without public pressure. It was designed to prevent forced marriages, not create them. Your point? My point is that I made a joke in ignorance, not a declaration of intent. You accepted, because the law gave you no choice once the words were spoken. Neither of us had free consent. We are being forced into a bond by the very law meant to prevent forced bonds. That's a contradiction the law cannot support. The throne room erupted. Voices shouting in a language my implant struggled to process. The Queen raised one hand, and silence fell like a guillotine blade. You argue semantics and philosophy to break sacred law. I argue that sacred law should serve the people, not trap them. Including you, Your Majesty. Her eyes narrowed. You believe I am trapped? I believe you're honoring a law that's been twisted from its original purpose. I believe you deserve better. Your people deserve better. For a long moment, she didn't move. Then she stood, and the court collectively held its breath. Keshare, the Queen said, what is your assessment of Marcus Webb's character? Keshare's face remained neutral. He is honest, Your Majesty. Foolish, but honest. He learns quickly. He shows respect even when afraid. He thinks of others before himself. High praise from my most trusted guard. The queen descended the steps from her throne, each footfall echoing. She stopped 5 feet from me. You could have run. You could have stayed silent and let the bonding proceed. As my consort, you would have power, wealth, protection. You would have everything most humans dream of. Instead, you stand here and argue for your freedom. Why? Because a bond without choice isn't a bond. It's a cage. And you deserve better than to be caged by your own laws. And if I said I wished the bond to proceed regardless, that I chose you freely, regardless of how the declaration was made, my heart stopped. Your Majesty? You heard me, Marcus Webb. In 4 days, you have shown me more honesty than any advisor or suitor in years. You stand before my entire court and argue for my freedom, knowing it costs you everything you could have gained. You are either the bravest human I have met or the most foolish. Perhaps both. She took 1 step closer. So I ask you now, with my court as witness, without law or obligation forcing your answer, would you choose to bond with me freely? The throne room was silent enough to hear my heartbeat. I thought about running. I thought about safety. I thought about Earth and my old life and everything that made sense. Then, I thought about 4 days of conversation with the most interesting person I'd ever met. I thought about her humor and her intelligence and the way she listened when I spoke. I thought about Keshare's fear and the weight of responsibility the queen carried every day. I thought about what it would mean to stand beside her. I don't know you well enough to promise forever, I said quietly. I don't know if I'm strong enough to survive in your world. I don't know if this could ever work. Her expression didn't change. Then your answer is no. My answer is, I would like the chance to find out. Not because law binds us. Not because I stumbled into a declaration. But because I think you're extraordinary, and I want to know who you are when you're not being a queen. If you'll give me the chance, I'll give you everything I have. Even though it's not much. The silence stretched. Then, the queen smiled. It transformed her face completely, made her look younger and more dangerous all at once. The old bonding is dissolved, she announced, her voice carrying to every corner of the throne room. The human Marcus Webb challenged the law and his argument is sound. We will not be bound by accident or misunderstanding. She paused. However, I, Shervara of the Vortak Empire, hereby make formal declaration of courtship intent toward Marcus Webb of Earth. Let it be recorded. Let it be witnessed. Let any who object speak now. More silence. Then Keshare stepped forward and placed her fist over her heart in salute. One by one, the court followed, even those who looked angry about it. The queen turned back to me. You have 6 months to learn our ways. To decide if you can survive this life. To determine if what we have is worth the cost. At the end of 6 months, I will ask you again. And you will answer freely, whatever that answer may be. And if I say no, then I will ensure you return to Earth safely, with my gratitude and my friendship. You will not be harmed or punished. You have my word. I took a shaky breath. 6 months. 6 months. She extended her hand, palm up, a Vortak gesture of respect between equals. I placed my hand over hers. Her skin was warm and her fingers were steady. Try not to make any more accidental proposals, she said, and there was humor in her voice. I do not think my court can survive another one. Despite everything, I laughed. I'll do my best, Your Majesty. When we are alone, you may call me Shervara. Then, when we are alone, you may call me Marcus. Not Webb. Just Marcus. She inclined her head slightly. Just Marcus. Very well. The court began to disperse, conversations breaking out in waves. I stood there trying to process what had just happened. I'd argued myself out of an accidental marriage and into a 6-month courtship with a queen. My life had become completely insane. Keshare approached, her face still neutral but something different in her posture. "You did well," she said quietly. "Better than I expected. Thanks for the character reference. I spoke only truth. The Queen values honesty above all else. Remember that in the months ahead. I will." I hesitated. "She's lucky to have you. I am lucky to serve her." Keshare glanced at the Queen, who was speaking with several advisors. "Do not hurt her, Marcus Webb. Do not make her regret this choice, or I will ensure you regret it more. Understood." She walked away, leaving me standing alone in the middle of the throne room. The Queen finished her conversation and looked at me, one of her lower eyes rotating in what I was learning meant amusement. I had 6 months to figure out if I could love a queen. I had 6 months to figure out if she could love a human. I had 6 months to decide if the most terrifying, beautiful, brilliant person I'd ever met was someone I could build a life with. I walked toward her, and she waited, and, somehow, that felt like the beginning of something real. The gardens were quiet at night, the glowing plants casting enough light to see by but not enough to destroy the intimacy of darkness. I'd been on the Vortak homeworld for 2 months now, and this had become our routine: dinner with her advisors, formal court sessions, then hours in the garden where we could talk without crowns or protocols. "Tell me about your family," Shervara said. We were sitting on a bench carved from living wood, something that had grown into this shape over centuries. She'd removed her formal crown, leaving only the bone structure that was part of her skull. She looked more relaxed than I'd ever seen her. "Not much to tell. My parents divorced when I was 10. Dad remarried and started a new family. Mom moved to New Seattle, and we talk maybe twice a year. I have a half-sister I've met 3 times. We're not close. That saddens you." "Sometimes. Mostly I just accepted it. Humans aren't always great at family bonds. But you study bonds between peoples, between cultures. Do you see the pattern?" I smiled. "Yeah. I've been looking for connection my whole life. In cultures, in history, in anything that felt bigger than my own broken family." "Very therapeutic, Your Majesty." "Shervara," she corrected gently. "We are alone." "Shervara." Her name felt strange in my mouth, intimate in a way that made my chest tight. "What about your family?" Her expression shifted, something painful crossing her features. "My mother was queen before me. She was assassinated when I was 23. My father died in the same attack. My younger brother challenged me for the throne. I was forced to exile him. I have not spoken to him in 15 years. I'm sorry. Do not be. It is the way of things. To be queen is to be alone. To trust is to invite betrayal. I learned that lesson early and, well, is that why you've never bonded? Never married?" She was quiet for a long moment. "I have had suitors. Many suitors. All wanted the throne more than they wanted me. All saw the queen, never the person. It became easier to remain alone. Until some idiot human made an accidental proposal. Until that, yes." She turned to look at me, all 4 eyes reflecting the garden's light. "You continue to surprise me, Marcus. You treat me as if I am simply Shervara. You argue with me. You make jokes that border on disrespectful. You show no fear. I'm terrified of you. Truly? Every single day. You could have me executed with a word. You're the most powerful person in this sector. You're also brilliant and beautiful and completely out of my league. I'm basically in a constant state of low-grade panic." She made that sound that was almost laughter. "And yet you hide it well. Years of academic presentations. You learned to fake confidence. I do not want false confidence, Marcus. I want honesty. Always honesty. Then, honestly, I'm falling for you. Not the queen. Not the power. You, the person who argues philosophy at midnight, who remembers small details about my childhood, who has a terrible sense of humor but pretends not to. That's terrifying too, because in 4 months I'll have to decide if I'm brave enough to choose this life. Shervara reached out slowly, giving me time to move away. When I didn't, she placed her hand over mine. Her palm was warm, her fingers longer than human proportions but gentle. And if I said I am also falling? She said quietly. That I wake each morning hoping you have not changed your mind? That I think of you during court sessions when I should be focused on trade disputes? That Keshere has reprimanded me twice for distraction? My heart hammered. I'd say we're both in trouble. Indeed. She didn't move her hand. But perhaps trouble is worth it. We sat there in silence, her hand on mine, the garden glowing around us. Somewhere in the palace, Keshere was probably watching, making sure the queen was safe. I wondered what she thought when she saw us like this. If it hurt. If she hated me. Tell me about the bonding ceremony, I said eventually. If I said yes, what would it involve? A public declaration before the court, an exchange of blood, a small amount, symbolic, the binding of hands with ceremonial cord. Then, 3 days of ritual observation where we would remain together constantly, allowing the court to witness the strength of our bond. It is intensive. It is public. There is no privacy. That sounds awful. It is tradition. Traditions can be terrible. She smiled. Yes, they can. But they can also provide structure, meaning. They connect us to those who came before. And after? What would life be like? You would be my consort, my equal in ceremony if not in power. You would attend court, provide counsel, represent the empire in some diplomatic functions. You would be protected absolutely, but also scrutinized constantly. Every word would be examined, every action judged. There would be those who resent you, some who would try to use you against me. It would not be easy, but we'd be together. Yes, we would be together. I turned my hand over, lacing my fingers with hers. Her hand was larger than mine, but fit perfectly. I need to tell you something, I said. About Keshere. Shervara tensed slightly. What about her? She's in love with you. The silence was absolute. Shervara's hand didn't move from mine, but her grip tightened. How do you know this? The way she looks at you when you're not watching. The way she positions herself. The way she threatened to kill me slowly if I hurt you. It's obvious if you know what to look for. I did not know. I figured. You're good at reading politics. Not so good at reading people's personal feelings. She pulled her hand away, standing abruptly. She walked a few paces, her back to me. Keshere is my oldest friend, she said finally. She has served me faithfully for 12 years. She has saved my life 4 times. She knows me better than anyone. And you care about her. Of course I care about her. But not the way she cares about you. Shervara was silent. It's okay, I said. You can't force feelings. You can't choose who you love. That's true for humans and for Tak both. She has never said anything. Because she values her duty more than her feelings. Because she wants you to be happy. Because she's better at hiding her heart than I am. Shervara turned around. In the dim light, her expression was difficult to read. Why are you telling me this? Because if we bond, she deserves to know. She deserves the chance to grieve and move forward. And because secrets poison relationships. You taught me that. This will hurt her. Yes. But not telling her will hurt her more. Every day, watching us together, hiding what she feels. That's a slower death. Shervara closed her eyes. For the first time since I'd met her, she looked tired. Vulnerable. Human, despite her alien features. You are right, she said, as you are often infuriatingly right. I will speak with her tomorrow. Do you want me there? No. This conversation must be private. But thank you for telling me. For trusting me with this knowledge. She returned to the bench, sitting beside me again. This time, she leaned her head on my shoulder. It was an awkward angle. She was taller than me, but she made it work. 4 months left, she murmured. 4 months. Are you still afraid? Terrified. Good. Fear means you understand the stakes. Fear means you will not take this lightly. I couldn't take you lightly if I tried. She made that almost laugh sound again. We sat in the garden until the plants began to dim, marking the deepest part of night. Then she stood, formal and, regal again, the queen instead of just Shervara. Sleep well, Marcus. You too. She walked away, her guards materializing from shadows to escort her. I sat alone for a few more minutes, trying to process everything. In 4 months, I'd have to choose. In 4 months, everything would change. I just hoped I was making the right choice. The next day, Kesharay didn't appear at court. The queen's expression remained neutral throughout the morning session, but I saw the tension in her shoulders. When the court finally adjourned, she left immediately through a private exit. I found Kesharay in the training room 3 hours later. She was beating the hell out of a practice dummy, her strikes fast and controlled, but carrying enough force to dent the reinforced material. Sweat made her skin shimmer. She saw me but didn't stop. I waited, leaning against the wall. Finally, she stepped back, breathing hard. She told you? She did? And you came to gloat? I came to apologize. I shouldn't have told her. It wasn't my secret to share. Kesharay grabbed a cloth and wiped her face. You were right to tell her. She needed to know. Doesn't make it hurt less. No, it does not. She sat heavily on a bench. 12 years. 12 years I have stood beside her, protected her, watched her carry burdens that would break lesser beings. And I said nothing. I did nothing. Because my duty was more important than my heart. That's not nothing. That's everything. She knows you love her. Now she knows why you've always been there. And now she pities me. No. She's grateful. And probably feeling guilty that she didn't see it. That's who she is. She'll blame herself for not noticing. Kesharay looked at me with something that might have been surprise. You understand her well. I'm trying to. That's all any of us can do, right? Try to understand each other. Fail frequently. Keep trying anyway. She was quiet for a moment. The queen asked if I wished to be reassigned. To serve elsewhere, so I would not have to watch you together. My stomach dropped. What did you say? I refused. She is my queen. My duty to her does not end because my heart is broken. I will stand beside her at your bonding if that is what she chooses. I will protect you both. That is who I am. You're remarkable, you know that? I am a soldier who fell in love with someone beyond my reach. There is nothing remarkable about that. You're wrong. But I won't argue with you. I pushed off the wall. For what it's worth, I'll try to be worthy of her. I know I'm not. But I'll try. You are more worthy than you know, Marcus Webb. That is why I have not killed you yet. High praise. It is the only praise you will get from me. Do not expect more. I smiled. Understood. I left her there, still sitting on the bench, and hoped that time would heal what I'd helped break. Probably not. But maybe she'd find a way forward anyway. 3 months left. 90 days to decide if I could commit to this life, to this person, to this impossible situation. I was starting to think the answer was yes. And that terrified me more than anything. The crisis came in month 5, when I was almost certain of my choice. I was in the gardens, our gardens now, really, when Keshere appeared running, her face carved from stone. Marcus Webb. Come with me now. What happened? The Queen requires you immediately. Do not ask questions. Run. We ran through corridors I barely recognized, deeper into the palace than I'd ever been. Other guards joined us, forming a protective formation. My heart hammered against my ribs. We burst into a command center filled with displays showing star maps and ship positions. Shervara stood at the center, still wearing her court dress but with armor plates being attached by attendants even as she spoke. Report, she commanded. An officer I didn't recognize spoke rapidly. Confirmed hostile fleet entering the outer system. 15 warships. They bear the insignia of Lord Crothier, the Queen's exiled brother. Ice flooded my veins. Her brother. The one she hadn't spoken to in 15 years. Transmission incoming, another officer said. Put it through. The central display lit up. The Vortak male who appeared looked like Shervara, same bone structure, same coloring. But where her eyes held intelligence and control, his held rage. Sister, he said, making the word sound like a curse. I warned you this day would come. You sit on our mother's throne wearing a crown you do not deserve. You dishonor her memory with every breath. Crothier! Shervara's voice could have cut diamond. You were exiled for challenging the rightful succession. The law was clear. The law was your protection. But now you have shown weakness. You court a human. A fragile, worthless creature from a backwater world. You would make him your consort. You would place him beside you on the throne our ancestors built. He leaned forward. Send the human out. Let me kill him in honorable combat. If you refuse, I will bombard this palace until there is nothing left but ash. The command center erupted in voices. Orders being shouted, defensive positions being calculated. Shervara raised one hand, and silence fell. You challenge Marcus Webb to ritual combat? I do. If he survives, I will withdraw and never return. If he falls, you will abdicate and I will take the throne that should have been mine from the start. No, I said. Everyone turned to look at me. Your Majesty, I can't fight him. I'm human. I have no training. I'll die in seconds. Correct, Crothier said, smiling. Which is why my dear sister will refuse. And I will destroy everything she loves. Every human embassy will burn. Every trade agreement will crumble. Every life bound to yours will end. She will watch everyone she cares about die because she chose you over her people. Shervara's hands clenched into fists. I saw the calculation in her eyes, the terrible mathematics of leadership. Save me and sacrifice thousands. Or sacrifice me and save thousands. I accept your challenge, I said. Marcus, no, Shervara started. On one condition, I continued, speaking directly to the display. You face me personally. Not a champion. Not a proxy. You? If I'm going to die, the universe should watch a 7-foot warrior kill an unarmed anthropologist. Let them see exactly what kind of honor you fight with. Crothier's smile widened. Agreed. 1 hour. The arena at the palace base. The entire empire will watch as I erase your sister's mistake. The transmission ended. Shervara grabbed my arm, her grip tight enough to bruise. What have you done? What I had to. He was going to kill people. Thousands of people. This way, Only I die. You cannot win. He has trained since childhood. He is a master of 17 combat forms. He will tear you apart. I know. Then, why would you accept? Because I love you. The words came out simple and clear. Because watching you sacrifice your people to save me would destroy you. Because if I'm going to die anyway, I'd rather it mean something. Her 4 eyes were wide, and, for the first time since I'd met her, the queen looked truly afraid. Not for herself. For me. There must be another way, she said. There isn't. You know there isn't. This is how it has to be. HFY stepped forward. Your Majesty, grant me permission to train him. 1 hour is not enough. But it is what we have. Train me to fight a Vortac warrior? That's impossible. I will not train you to win, HFY said. I will train you to survive long enough to matter. To make him work for his victory. To show the Empire that you chose someone with courage, even if that courage is not enough. Shervara looked between us. Finally, she nodded. Do it. Both of you. Go now. HFY and I ran again, this time to the training room. She sealed the door behind us. Remove your shirt, she ordered. What? I need to see how you move. Quickly. I stripped off my shirt. She circled me, examining like I was a piece of equipment. You are weak, she said clinically. No muscle mass. No combat training. Your reflexes are adequate for a human, but worthless against Crothier. If he hits you solidly, you will die. Great pep talk. I do not lie to make you feel better. I tell you truth so you understand the situation. She grabbed a practice blade from the wall. You cannot win through strength. You cannot win through skill. Your only chance is to make him angry. Make him sloppy. Make him underestimate you and, then, hurt his pride. How? By refusing to play by his rules. By making him look foolish in front of the entire Empire. He expects you to fight with honor. Do not. Fight dirty. Fight human. Use every advantage your weak, fragile body can manage. She spent the next 55 minutes teaching me exactly 3 moves. Not enough to win. Just enough to survive the first exchange. To make Crothier think I might be dangerous. To buy time. You will die, she said as we walked toward the arena. I want you to know this. I want you to understand that I am sending you to your death. I know. The Queen will never forgive me. Yes, she will. Because you gave me a chance. Even a small one. Why would you do this, Marcus Webb? Why would you throw your life away? I thought about 4 days of conversation that changed everything. About gardens at midnight and hands touching. About learning to see beyond the crown to the person underneath. Because some things are worth dying for, I said. She's one of them. HFY stopped walking. If you somehow survive this, I will support your bonding. Publicly. Without reservation. I won't survive. No. You will not. But I want you to know, you have earned my respect. That is rare. Do not waste it by dying too quickly. The arena was massive, carved from the same black stone as the Queen's throne. Thousands of Vortac filled the stands, their voices creating a roar like ocean waves. Shervara sat in the royal box, armored and crowned, her expression carved from ice. She couldn't show weakness, couldn't show fear. She was the Queen, and the Queen did not break. But I saw it in the set of her shoulders, the way her hands gripped the armrests. Crothier entered from the opposite side. He was bigger than I'd expected, armor painted in red and black, carrying a blade that looked like it could cut through steel. The crowd cheered. I walked into the center of the arena wearing light armor HFY had given me, and carrying a sword I barely knew how to hold. The crowd went silent. The human comes to die, Crothier announced, his voice amplified. Look upon him, my people. See what weakness looks like. See what your queen would place beside her on the throne. Lord Crothier, I said, my voice shaking. I have a question before we begin. He paused, surprised. Speak. Did your mother love you? His expression darkened. Do not speak of my mother. I'm curious. Because my mother didn't love me much. Barely talked to me after the divorce. I used to wonder if that was why I turned out the way I did. Desperate for connection. Desperate to be chosen by someone. Anyone. I took a step forward. Is that why you're here? Because your mother chose Shervara instead of you? Because even after 15 years, you're still the little boy who wasn't picked? Silence! She loved her, didn't she? Your mother loved Shervara more. That's why she chose her as heir. That's why you challenged and lost. Because even then, everyone could see you weren't good enough. Crothier roared and charged. I did exactly what Keshere taught me. Waited until the last second. Dropped low. Rolled sideways. His blade passed through the space where I'd been standing, close enough to feel the wind of its passage. The crowd gasped. I came up running, putting distance between us. That all you got? I thought Vortak warriors were supposed to be skilled. You fight like a human toddler having a tantrum. He charged again. This time I wasn't fast enough. His fist caught my shoulder and I went flying, hitting the arena floor hard enough to crack ribs. Pain exploded through my chest. I tasted blood. Get up, Crothier said. Die on your feet like a warrior. I forced myself up, ribs screaming. A warrior? I'm not a warrior. I'm an anthropologist. I study dead cultures. And you know what I learned? Every empire that falls for the same reason. It eats itself from the inside because people like you can't let go of old wounds. You know nothing of our culture. I know your sister is a better leader than you could ever be. I know that's what really bothers you. Not the throne. Not the power. The knowledge that she's simply better. That's the wound that never heals. He hit me again. This time my left arm. I felt something break. The sword fell from my grip. I was going to die. But not yet. Not quite yet. She forgave you, you know, I gasped, backing away. After you challenged her. After you lost. She wanted to bring you back. Let you come home. But you were too proud. Too broken. You chose exile over admitting you were wrong. Lies. Ask her. Look at her face. I pointed to the royal box. Crothier's eyes flicked up for just a second. Shervara was standing, her hands gripping the rail. And on her face, clear for anyone to see, was grief. Crothier faltered. Just for a moment. Just long enough. I grabbed a handful of arena dirt and threw it in his eyes. Then I charged him. No weapon, broken arm, cracked ribs. Just a human being who refused to die quietly. I slammed into him with everything I had. It was like hitting a wall, but he was off balance, temporarily blinded. We went down together. I got my good hand around a rock from the arena floor. Brought it down on his helmet. Once. Twice. The rock shattered. My hand screamed in pain. But his armor cracked. He threw me off. I flew 10 feet and crashed into the arena wall. Something else broke inside me. I coughed blood. Crothier stood slowly, wiping dirt from his eyes. His armor was dented. His helmet cracked. In front of thousands of Vortak, I'd made him look weak. You fight without honor, he said. I fight to live. That's the most honorable thing I know. He raised his blade. This would be the end. No tricks left. No clever words. Just death. Stop! Shervara's voice rang across the arena. She was standing at the rail of the royal box, crowned and terrible. "Crothier! Brother! Hear me!" He paused, blade raised. "You came for honor. You came for justice. You came to prove I was wrong to exile you. But look what you have done. You face one human. Unarmed now. Broken. Bleeding. And still he stands. Still he fights. Not with your strength. Not with your training. But with something you lost long ago, the willingness to sacrifice everything for what he loves. Sister, I exiled you because you challenged me out of wounded pride. Because you could not accept our mother's choice. I would have forgiven you. I would have brought you home. But you chose hatred over healing. You chose war over peace. You chose to become this." She gestured at him, standing over my broken body. "Is this who our mother would have wanted you to be?" Silence fell across the arena. Crothier lowered his blade. "She chose you." "Yes. And I have tried every day to be worthy of that choice. Have you?" He stood there, a warrior in cracked armor, facing his sister across the distance that exile had created. Finally, he looked at me. "You love her," he said. Not a question. "Yes," I managed. "Enough to die for her." "Yes. That is more than I expected from a human." He turned to Shervara. "If you bond with him, he will be weak. Your enemies will use him against you. You will be vulnerable. I know. And still you choose him?" "I do." Crothier was silent for a long moment. Then he dropped his blade. The sound of metal hitting stone echoed like thunder. "Then you have courage I do not, sister. Perhaps mother chose correctly after all." He looked up at the royal box. "I withdraw my challenge. I withdraw my claim. I will leave this system and not return. But know this, if the human dies, if he proves unworthy, I will be watching. And I will come back to remind you of this moment." He turned and walked toward the arena exit. The crowd parted silently to let him pass. I collapsed. The world went gray at the edges. I felt hands on me, Keshare's hands, lifting me carefully. Shervara was running toward us, protocol forgotten, crown askew. The queen running like a normal person towards someone she cared about. "Marcus," she said, her voice breaking. "Marcus, stay awake. Look at me. Did I do good?" I whispered. "You did impossibly, foolishly, perfectly." Her hands were shaking as she touched my face. "You are never doing this again. Do you understand?" "Never." "Okay. But for the record, I won. You are dying, you stubborn human. This is not winning. I'm still breathing. That's winning. Ask Keshare." Keshare's face appeared above me. "You survived longer than expected. I am impressed. High praise," I managed. Everything went dark. I woke up 3 days later in a medical facility that smelled like antiseptic and something floral. Shervara was sitting beside my bed, wearing simple clothes instead of armor or royal dress. She was holding my hand. Her face was streaked with dried tears. "Hey," I said. My voice came out like gravel. She looked up, and relief flooded her features. "Marcus, you're awake. Finally, Dot. Did we win? You are absurd. You nearly died and you ask if we won. I'll take that as a yes." I tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain flared through my entire body. 3 broken ribs, fractured arm, crushed hand, internal bleeding, concussion, and 17 other injuries the medics listed that I cannot remember. She touched my face gently. "You should be dead. If you were fully Vortak, you would have survived more easily. Your human fragility nearly cost me everything. Sorry. Do not apologize." Do not ever apologize for surviving." She leaned forward, resting her forehead against mine. "I thought I had lost you. I sat here for 3 days thinking I would never hear your voice again, never argue with you, never sit in our garden and talk until dawn. I have never been so afraid. I love you," I said. "Just so we're clear. I love you. Not the queen. Not the power. You, Shervara. The person who cries when she thinks no one is watching. Who carries the weight of an empire and still makes terrible jokes. Who gave me a chance when I deserved nothing. You deserved everything. You still deserve everything. And I love you, Marcus Webb. I have loved you since you stood before my court and argued for my freedom. I have loved you through every moment since. And I will love you for whatever time we have left, whether that is 50 years or 50,000. So is that a yes? To bonding? To marriage? To this whole impossible thing?" She pulled back enough to look at me, all 4 eyes shining with tears. "Yes. When you are healed. When you can stand without falling. When you can exchange vows without bleeding. Yes. 1,000 times yes." I smiled despite the pain. "Good. Because after that speech I made, it would be really awkward if you said no." She laughed, and it was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. The bonding ceremony happened 6 weeks later. My injuries had healed enough to stand, though my hand would never be quite right again. Small price for being alive. The throne room was packed. Every important Bortak in the Empire had come to witness their queen bond with a human. I wore ceremonial armor made specially for my smaller frame, trying not to shake. Keshere stood to my right, dressed in formal guard armor that gleamed like starlight. She'd been appointed my honor guard for this ceremony, a position that usually went to family. When Shervara had asked, Keshere had accepted with dignity, and something that might have been peace. Shervara entered, and the crowd fell silent. She wore armor of silver and midnight blue, her crown polished to perfection. She was terrifying and beautiful and mine. We met in the center of the room. The ceremony master began the ancient words, but I barely heard them. I was too busy looking at Shervara, at the slight smile on her face, at the way her hand stayed steady as we exchanged blood, a symbolic drop mixed in a ceremonial bowl. When it came time for the vows, Shervara spoke first in her own language, her voice carrying to every corner. Then she switched to English, just for me. "I choose you, Marcus Webb. Not because law demands it, not because protocol requires it, but because you see me, the person beneath the crown, the woman beneath the queen. You stood in an arena and faced death for me. You argued for my freedom when it cost you everything. You gave me honesty when I needed it most. I choose you. Today. Tomorrow. For whatever comes after. My turn." I've practiced this for weeks, working with tutors to get the pronunciation right in her language. My voice shook, but I got through it. Then English, because some things needed to be said in your own tongue. "I choose you, Shervara. I was lost before I met you, drifting through a life I didn't understand, looking for connection in all the wrong places. You gave me purpose. You gave me home. You gave me a reason to be brave even when I was terrified. I'm still terrified, honestly. This is all insane. But I've never been more certain of anything in my life. I choose you. Now. Always. For whatever time we have." The ceremony master bound our hands with silver cord. We stood there, bound together, and the cord erupted in voices, approval, disapproval, shock, acceptance, all of it blending into a roar that sounded like the future arriving. "You are bonded," the ceremony master announced. "What the law has joined, let none separate. What the heart has chosen, let none deny. Stand as one before the Empire. We turned to face the court, still bound together. Shervara's hand squeezed mine gently. That's it? I whispered. We're married now. We are bonded. Yes. Seems anticlimactic after everything. Wait for the 3-day observation period. You will long for anticlimactic. She was right. The next 3 days were intensive, every moment together, constantly watched, our compatibility assessed by tradition and protocol. We barely slept. Barely had a moment alone. By day 3, I was ready to fight another arena match just for some peace. But on the 4th morning, we woke up in our quarters, and we were alone. The observation was over. We were officially bonded, officially married, officially committed to each other for life. Good morning, husband, Shervara said, her voice soft. Good morning, wife. The word felt strange and perfect. How do you feel? Terrified, happy, exhausted, completely sure this was the right choice. Then you feel as I do. We lay there in comfortable silence, watching the morning light filter through windows that overlooked gardens that were ours now. Officially, a queen and a human anthropologist who'd made an accidental proposal and somehow turned it into something real. What happens now? I asked. Now we lead. Together. We face whatever comes. We argue and laugh and survive. We show the Empire that love does not make us weak. It makes us stronger. No pressure. All the pressure. But we carry it together. Keshare knocked on the door. Your Majesties. The morning court session begins in 1 hour. Thank you, Keshare. Shervara called back. I heard footsteps walking away. After everything, Keshare had stayed. Had chosen duty over her broken heart. Had decided that serving the Queen meant accepting the Queen's choices, even painful ones. She'll be okay, Shervara said quietly, reading my thoughts. In time. You sure? No. But I have hope. Hope is sometimes enough. We got up. Got dressed. Put on our armor and our crowns and our formal faces. Became the Queen and her consort instead of just Shervara and Marcus. But as we walked toward the throne room, her hand found mine. A small gesture. A private moment in a public life. I love you, she said. I love you too. And somehow, against all logic and all odds, we'd made it work. A joke that became a proposal. A proposal that became a courtship. A courtship that became a bond. The future would be hard. There would be enemies and challenges and moments where I questioned everything. But we'd face them together. That was enough. That was everything.